is in one of his books, he said, if you want more information about this, email me. So I emailed him and I said, I'd like more information about that. And he said, what are you talking about? Because he had forgotten that he had said that in the book. He lived in New Zealand. I don't know if he's still alive. I think he died. But in any case, this seems to be accurate because it's just the statistical data explanation for it. And the question that Flynn asked and others was, why is this the case and what does it mean, right? My own particular point of view is that your minds are much more active than mine was at your age. And the reason for it is you are constantly connected to the spiritual world, the social media. If you are one of those folks, you're constantly connected and probably have been since you were old enough to get one of those toy computer things. If your father bought you one of those, your mother bought you one of those, your aunt bought you one of those, right? And so you've been connected and your mind has been very, very active. And that's exercise. And I think that's the explanation for why people are much quicker IQ-wise. A flip side to this, though, is that each succeeding cohort knew less. And part of the problem is the social media doesn't lend itself to deep attention or focus on long problems or things we used to call books. For example, that used to be the main way that you would learn information is by reading books. And I remember quite a few years ago, I showed a video of a lecture by a professor on the collapse of societies. And it was about a 45-minute lecture, and the one student in the class who was watching it said, I want to read that book, Collapse, right? And the next class, he had gotten the book somehow. I don't know whether he bought it or went to the library, but in any case, he brought the book in and started reading it, and he looked at me and he said, how do you read a book? Well, there was an 800-page tome, right? And you can't just suddenly at college age start reading books like that. You have to have worked up towards it from when you were a kid. You know, reading books like Big Bee, Big Brown Bear, Blue Bull, Beautiful Baboon, Blowing Bubbles, Hiking Backwards, Bump, Black Bugs, Banana Boxes. You know, things like that. You know, so that you're used to reading. That's the big book, if you're curious. How many folks have heard of that before? No kidding. Did your parents read it to you? Or?
I don't know. At some point I heard about it.
That and Fox and Socks. I don't know if you're familiar with Fox and Socks or Green Eggs and Ham, but you gradually build up, to like Star Wars, The Jedi Strikes Back, or something, and then, more and more difficult books. And the idea, of course, is that you're exercising your brain in a particular way, because that's a different kind of exercise, concentrating, reading, and staying with it for hours at a time. Wow, right? How many folks think they could still do that? You ever done? Yes? Okay, pretty impressive, right? Pretty difficult. And that's, so far, the way we know that you can actually gain information. But this class is going to be a little bit different, because even though the books are out there, and by the way, they're available in the library is a tremendous, I love that library. It's huge, almost as huge as the one in Fairbanks, but they deliberately made it a little bit smaller because the folks in Fairbanks wanted to insist that they had the largest library in Alaska instead of UAA. There's a competition between UAF and UAA. And UAF usually wins in the kinds of things that aren't really that important, I don't think. But in any case, the books are there, and you're welcome to check them out. And probably won't find much competition, by the way. I like Robert Rubin's book. I saw a blurb about it, and I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. I requested it from the library. It was there the next day at the desk, picked it up. Yeah, done. Easy. But the reading I will post for you is on the web. So you're going to be reading it with your devices. And how many of you have big devices that, like you can see, yeah? How many of you are reading everything on a phone, a little phone? Does that work for you? I find that impossible, actually, to keep track of things on a little phone. But I have all the readings and more, and I think of it as a all-you-could-read buffet. And notice I sent out an early email for those that were already registered. Notice on Blackboard that you did not need to buy a book, because of course I'm one of those that are trying to make sure that the course is as cheap as possible. They know what expect. I have children. One of them still has school loans, so I know what those are like. In any case, I'll show you the links that I have as we go. In fact, you can find them in lots of different ways. But first, exams. What are the exams? I've mentioned how easy these are if you feel like answering the question. So here's test one. Notice they're all posted. So can you see that from the back? Yes. Good. So there's the directions. Pick 3 of the questions and give me at least 300 words per question. That seems to be pretty easy, but I've discovered there are a lot of people that have difficulty with that. One of the things that scare people is that they might have the wrong answer. So you don't have to worry. You can say what you feel like saying in response to the question, and know that I'm just grading you based on your word count. So for each essay, get up to 300 words, maybe 301, just to be safe. That's silly, but 310 words, and I do the word count thing, put it in the A column, and then I read it. So you don't have to worry about whether your answer is right or wrong. And in this course, by the way, most of the questions don't have right or wrong answers. Although I would say that some answers are better than others. You might not even have ever heard the best answer for some of the questions. And the questions will go along with the progress of the course. So it's just sequentially that way. Notice I have this thing about plagiarism, and plagiarism is an issue now that's even worse than it was. Back in the day, we had Google, and people could research on Google. A lot of people would copy and paste, right? And that was their paper. I remember at Homestead Elementary one year grading one of the fairs, the student fairs, and the students had posted like their science projects. And the one student, this young kid, and he was immersed in iron filings and magnets, and he had all these experiments he was doing, and he had a really crappy poster that explained what he was doing, all these different, it was excellent. And he was just doing the experiments while you came by and graded them. That was an A, as far as I was concerned. I went to the next one where all the other judges were putting blue ribbons on the thing, and it was beautiful, and highlighted exactly the way Wikipedia does. So this was a student that went on, found a Wikipedia article, put it on her poster, and basically that was her project. And I was horrified. This is not doing science. This is doing plagiarism, is what this is. But all the other folks were so thrilled with the pink and the blue and how it looked. They were giving that person ribbons, and they were just totally ignoring the young man who was doing actual scientific experiments on his table. So Google, it's a problem. A lot of people have tried all sorts of things to figure out how to keep students from plagiarizing. Well, if you read my explanation of what plagiarism is, you end up with the confusion at the end, I would hope, that how can we not plagiarize? Basically, everything that I'm saying to you, I've learned from somebody else. I'm acting like it's my thoughts, and well, if they are, actually, but I should be citing, Daniel Dennett, or all the different people that I'm gaining all this stuff from. But in this, setting, I don't have to do that. You're doing an essay of some sort, you're supposed to, but how can you actually do it? It's really difficult. And there's some fun things in this if you get a chance to look at it, especially if you look at some of these tools, which are hopefully still there. The dialectizer, you ever heard of that? So you can post text in the text box, or you can put a link there. Some links protect themselves from this site, but if you post text in here and then you hit like redneck, it will change the text to sound as if you were redneck speaking that way, right? And you get other choices. You don't have to just stick with redneck. You can have jive, Cockney, Elmer Fudd. Yeah, that's just fun. It's fun. So that's the dialectizer. And the other one that's kind of interesting, if this still works, it does. So this is a website that you can go on to, and every time you go on to it, it gives you a brand new term paper that you can't trace, including the footnotes. So you get footnotes and everything. So there you go. Now watch, I will just hit refresh. Same web page, right? Totally different term paper. See how it works? The Dada engine is what runs this, and theoretically it will never repeat itself, and it's creating what you might call a postmodern term paper. So if you're taking a class in literature, postmodernism or something, don't use this, but you could discuss it. That's pretty funny, because the scary thing is what this engine is doing and what ChatGPT is doing is what we are doing. You had any arguments with, how many folks know what ChatGPT is? Everybody. See how that works. Otherwise, at the CAS convocation, I was talking with a colleague, and the colleague says, this semester I'm just going to have paper tests that everybody has to do in the classroom during the class. Because he was afraid of ChatGPT and students might be using it. And I'm thinking, this is a new tool. Everybody needs to have how to learn to use this to the best effect. So I'm going to encourage people, if you want to use ChatGPT as part of your, just cite it. Don't just hand it to me and consider that. Remember, I grade it by just word count, so you're good, right? Even plagiarism, well, I'm not going to go check it. I'm not getting paid for that, that's too much. In fact, I don't get paid at all. My wife gets the money. But she lets me live there. 51 years. 51 years. Same jokes, etc. So this is an interesting issue for us in lots of ways. And ChatGPT is even more. I used ChatGPT last semester and asked it some of the questions that we were discussing and watched what ChatGPT gave us instantly. So it's just absolutely fascinating. where we're going. But the scary thing is ChatGPT and this data engine and so on, all in a sense mimicking the human brain? Or is there something else that we're doing that will make sure that artificial intelligence, AI, will never quite do away with us? That's the scary question. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs. A lot of the middle class or white collar jobs that you would be contending for